Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 463 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. And today, we have a small crew, and you're listening to my voice, Richard, because Seth has missed the podcast. I think this is like the first time we've two-manned at Crim, and I don't
Is
think
it?
Seth has ever like missed a podcast in like literally 8 years.
No. I feel like we've done this before. Or was it Seth and I?
You guys have two-manned it. Seth is currently in upstate New York without power. He has lost power, but he is the Iron Man. He has never missed a podcast, I don't think, or he's missed like maybe one podcast in like the entire time. Like he's always present. So today's going to be an interesting one. Just me and you, Crim. The children are out. We're gonna talk about some.
Finally.
We're gonna talk about some anime cards from Ravnica Remastered. We're gonna talk about the new format Timeless coming to Magic Arena, and we got Ravnica Murders at Karlov Manor previews to take a look at. So we'll go through all of that. But before we go through all that, let me properly introduce you, Crim, the Asian Avenger. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. Pretty excited. We've got some funny news, like of a certain deck still winning a tournament, but and a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, and I am the Codfather, Richard, and yeah, we will hop into these topics today. But before we do that, today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. Card Conduit lets you skip all the typing, time, and work associated with buy listing. Their curated service lets you send in as many cards as you want with buy list value of $1 more, and you pay just a 5% service fee. You can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards and pay only 2%. You get a detailed report and fast payment once your order is processed. You can get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. So thank you, Card Conduit, for supporting today's show. So let's jump straight into our new format, Timeless. So Khans of Tarkir is releasing on Magic Arena this week. And along with it, we're getting Timeless. So Timeless is essentially every card available on Magic Arena, with some asterisks. And the first asterisk is there are some restricted cards. So Channel, Demonic Tutor, and Tybalt's Trickery. So those will be restricted. If you recall, those come from like Mystical Archives, and these things are banned in Historic. The other thing is Khans of Tarkir will come, and the fetches will be pre-banned in Historic. So Flooded Strand, etc., pre-banned in Historic, but they'll be available in Timeless. So that's another difference. You're going to get a fully powered fetch mana base. And the ban list of Historic no longer applies. So I don't know, Oko, whatever, Meatball Mask. What is actually banned in Historic? All of those things are actually unbanned in Timeless.
They technically are unbanned. Some of these cards are unbanned in Historic, but they've been alchemied. So that means all the alchemied cards will be returned to their original state. So like, yeah, previously mentioned Meatball Massacre, Meat Hook Massacre, will do what it does compared to like do the same thing as the paper version.
Yeah.
And like that's
well, and then asterisks, but alchemy cards are available in Timeless. So if you are playing with an alchemy only card, you will get the latest version. So if it's been rebalanced several times, you get whatever the current version is. But if you are playing a card that has a paper equivalent, it will be the original version. So notably, like Three Fairy, yeah, Orcish Bowmasters, they will be the paper version. So that is the format. Notably, like things like fetches and treasure cruise, fetches and dig through time, legal. All Mystical Archives,
can't wait for that.
Legal. Channel is legal. It's just restricted. The 3 restricted cards, remember, but you can theoretically just channel someone out on turn 2 or whatever, turn 1. So, Crim, what do you make of this format? Is this replacing Historic, or like what is this? Why is Historic and this format still existing?
I think I can't tell if this is like them trying to make a like kind of like halfway listen to what people like kind of wanted, which was, hey, let's just have a format that is like no alchemy versions of things and like just basic like just what we have in paper we want it to do online, and what it does online we want it to do in paper, right? So and like this way you get to have this kind of legacy or eternal format on Arena because it's everything ever released on Arena. So this includes Lord of the Rings, yada yada, and any other future collabs. I think the one thing they missed is that I think people still don't want your alchemy cards. So the thing here is they want, like, they kind of halfway got it. They just wanted the format also to not have alchemy cards. Um, I I don't know. I don't know why there's if you're not going to exclude the alchemy cards, I don't understand the purpose of this unless this format is just so you can have a format where you can play fetch lands. I mean, I guess, you had banless historic kind of pop off, right? The queues were really popular and it did real well. So I guess this is kind of close to that, right? So I guess this gives us a queue now to play. Although I don't see a world where this and historic don't cannibalize each other. I just don't understand the purpose of it. So I'm not really sure how they're gonna make the two formats separate stand like out from each other. Other than this is the format with all the most powerful spells and literally everything on Arena, as opposed to like at historic is like asterisk mostly everything on Arena with the modified versions of cards. So I think like this will feel a little closer to paper like kind of eternal kind of like stuff like that. Just like whereas like historic is the wild west Christmas land and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know. So when I first heard of Timeless, I thought it was historic without digital cards. But it is not actually that because alchemy is here. So it begs the question is like, what exactly is timeless? Because so currently there's nothing on the ban list, and there's a couple cards that are restricted. I don't know why, but they can't let this go, right? Like, are you gonna play a format that's just like totally messed up and like imbalanced? No, they're gonna start balancing the cards, and you're gonna start looking like historic. No, like as you balance the broken things, like you know what, Oko is probably too good for this format. Oko's probably gonna go
Is it?
right. Like Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time fetches are probably gonna like they're gonna start making it look like historic. So what is the point? Like, why don't they just put fetch lands into historic and call it a day? Like, I'm a little confused what the point of having both of these formats are. They said that the queues are healthy enough to support a new format. Like, no way. Like, no way. I am pretty sure if you're a historic player, you play timeless or historic, and you're not gonna be like playing one and the other, right? Like, I
Right.
feel we're all gonna play timeless to do the degenerate stuff, and then they're gonna fix the degenerate stuff. And if they don't fix it, like, who wants to play this anyway? So like, no, like it's like, are we not gonna get 4 fairy into timeless? Like, we're just
I
gonna
mean,
ban 3 fairy, Like it was clearly too strong for historic. Why would it be fine in timeless? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
you have counterspell now though, and I think memory lapse is back on the menu. I
These
mean,
are
then
all
again, if
cards
they
that help 3 fairy as well.
they also get dumpstered if three fairy resolves. But I mean, I guess we'll see, right? It hasn't hit yet, and I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, week one, I'm pretty excited to try to build some like the old blue red Delver deck with Swift Spear and Treasure Cruise, all that stuff in modern. So I'm pretty excited to see how that goes. I I do wonder though, how long like does it actually run unchecked, like you mentioned? Because
There's no like you can't have it's gonna look like Legacy or something like that without the actual Force of Wills. Like, like
yeah,
I know we all like Legacy, but if you actually had to sit down and design a format, you wouldn't arrive at Legacy. Like Brainstorm is grandfathered in, and we appreciate it. But like, you don't want a format where you're like, you gotta play this color, and the best card is here. Otherwise, everything is a no go. Like, you don't want that, right? And
that's
like,
not true. You're gonna anger the legacy
oh,
players. You don't
but it
need
is like
blue.
everyone knows that Brainstorm is not balanced, but it's like the charm of the format. So like, here we go. But like fetches and treasure cruise, like that's probably too much. You have Oko running around. You ready for some wilderness reclamation? Nexus of
Is
Fate.
that even gonna get
I
played?
don't know, but isn't it sad if like that is too bad for this format? You're like, what is going on such that you won't Nexus of Fate loop people, right? So
I'm sorry. I don't know if this is I will say I don't understand why Kanza here just doesn't just I don't know why Historic doesn't allow fetches.
they don't want
Because
fetches in historic for whatever reason, and then they decided to make a whole
yeah,
new format so that they can play fetches.
which is like, okay, cool. So now you have fetch lands, and then everything else in Tarkir is like unplayable and timeless because what are you gonna do? Siege Rhino me? Like
No, treasure cruise is cons, right?
yeah, sure. Treasure
Dig through
Cruise
time
exists.
cons.
Dig through time, sure. But those are cards that are legal in Pioneer, right?
Pioneer doesn't have does it have the fetches?
It doesn't have
Yeah.
fetches.
So like
So
Pioneer is like remember we have Explorer too, by the way. So we're gonna have Timeless, Explorer, Historic, Alchemy, and Standard.
I mean, Explorer is a placeholder, right? Until they eventually get to Pioneer. So right now, just treat it as Pioneer, right? So it is Pioneer.
So
okay?
does Pioneer replace Historic and Timeless? Like, is that what they're going for? Like, that's the mid power eternal format, and then Timeless is anything goes, and then Standard is the Standard.
Let's just say that according to their release schedule, Pioneer hits, I think they said in like 2 to 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was about a year ago. So they have about another year to get Pioneer, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe 2. So I think by the end of that, what it'll look like on Arena will be Standard, Pioneer, and then Timeless. I think Historic will be this thing that they'll try to force, they'll need some format to force more alchemy cards into. But like it's those are going to be the 3 played, I think, at the end of this, because that'll be the middle power. If you're gonna play old format and One Ring, all these things, Bowmasters, you're gonna want to play full unhinged Magic. So Mystical Archives, all that other stuff. I don't know why channel is restricted. I think channel.
What do you think about restricting cards? So we haven't restricted anything ever. Like, their design philosophy was, if it needs to be restricted, it should just be banned. And the only reason we have restricted is so that vintage play, like, there's a home to play cards, right? Because like once you're just banned everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, how bad does it feel if you sit down to a tournament and your opponent just has that turn 1 restricted card, that one of in their deck, the Miser copy, and you get blown out like 3 games in a row, and you're like, thanks, right? Like, is it?
I mean,
restricted bad.
Happy Feast of Wintervale. What are you talking about, dude? Like that was get good, scrub. I had my Miser. I'm
don't you just run your deck fully loaded with tutors to tutor up your restricted card and then like go for it? Like,
but I think that's why they trim the tutors, right? So Demonic Tutor is one of the ones, right? That's restricted.
They can't keep trimming them though, because next set there's going to be another Mystical Archive or something, and they're going to start adding more broken stuff, right?
It's just pretty much. I think this is so that Timeless emulates a somewhat like Arena vintage look, right? And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with playing high powered cards. I just hope people level their expectations when they go into this format, because there's gonna be some real Yu-Gi-Oh vibes going on. You know what I mean?
You're saying that in a bad way, right?
yeah. Not OG Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm talking current day Yu-Gi-Oh. So we're gonna see what happens. I mean, I think we should just remove channel entirely. Well, okay, so trickery is nonsense.
Oh, but Oko,
it's too much nonsense.
Oko is fine.
Okay. I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if I said it before. I probably have on the podcast, and I'm gonna get yelled at for this one. I think Oko, in by the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, Oko comes off the ban list or is not as a big of an offense as he once was, because I think there will be better cards, right? So
the format is so degenerate that you can't play a mid-range card. That's what it means, right? If Oko is so terrible, It means the board doesn't matter, creatures don't matter, and like you're just doing degenerate things to just like
I think
combo
Spell
off.
Pierce, yeah, Spell Pierce is gonna be back to what it once was. You know, Spell Pierce was the spell, right? Like it was the counter spell if you didn't have free counter spells. And like that's how you stop turn 2
Dude,
Oko.
Oko is banned
So
everywhere in the formats with free counter spells as well, right?
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But you know what? I think you can come off the ban list in modern because the modern is Christmas land. So but like that's what I imagine this will be. Kind of just like where it feels absurdly powerful. Like just like Oko is gonna be the fair card of the format, along with 3 fairy.
Okay, if you were not
I
a
mean,
content creator, would you be playing Timeless?
if I were okay, it's not even a content creator thing. It's more of, am I an enfranchised Magic player? Right? Like, because do I want to see and play with all the cool old cards? Because how I look at this is like, I mean, just returning to Hearthstone, like recently this year to play Standard. I went to just humorously just dip my toes to see what Wild was, right? Which is like the legacy, the vintage of Hearthstone. I played one game, I had my fun, I was good, and I never had to play it again. So if I'm not an enfranchised person who hasn't been there since day 0 and not some magic boomer who wants to see like, you know, like all these old cards and whatnot, I think I play Timeless 3 times a year. 3 times a year. IQ 3 times a year.
Wow.
This format is, it's like cool, like, hey, oh my god, this is the Oko, this is the 3 fairy, lightning bolt. Wow. Then I get got maybe 1 too many times, and then it's like, oh, that was a fun magic event. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to standard.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing. I feel it's fun for a bit. Like just like when you play, say, Vintage Cube or something, you just draft some like
Yeah,
degenerate stuff and you're like, yeah, right. Here's the problem
yeah.
though. It's not free. You gotta craft these cards. You gotta craft like the 5 fetches. If you don't have an Oko, if you don't have a channel, you gotta go craft it. And if this format sucks, you have no other place to play these cards, right? Like, and this is the only place to play it. So after your week of fun, what do you do? So I would be a little cautious. I would wait to see if this format looks legitimate. I would wait to see if Wizards actually tries to balance it. But like you gotta pay money to play this, right? Like you gotta make those fetches. Those fetches are not playable anywhere else, right? So it's specifically
Yeah.
for Timeless, and then you're gonna craft all these degenerate cards that are banned everywhere. Maybe you have Oko, so maybe you come preloaded with like Oko and stuff like that. But yeah, this costs wild cards. Um,
I mean, if you're starting a new account, right? Let's assume that the person, right, is it's just like, hey, I started in Ixalan. Do you think they're gonna make the deck for this like format? I don't think they will. Like this is,
what if they're like,
but
oh,
I don't think
I
this
want to
is.
play, I want to play Vintage. I heard Vintage. Vintage is cool. Or like I want to play Demonic Tutor. Like you probably don't have Demonic Tutor. You gotta craft that, right?
You know what's funny? I don't think that's what's gonna get people to play this format. You know what is though?
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
But Lord of the
Lord
Rings
of the
isn't
Rings.
historic. Lord of the Rings isn't historic
It's
though.
in historic. Sure, it's in historic, but it's like weird, right? Like you never know. Like you might have like alchemified Bowmaster. So if I want pure Bowmaster, I want what the card does in paper. I think that this is the biggest thing here. Whether it's historic or timeless, whatever, how many of the new universes beyond will Arena get? And that will determine the popularity of this format, which if it, let's just say Lord of the Rings, right? We knew it was one of the best selling sets, right? Yada, yada, yada. People are going to want this format balanced because then it's like, why doesn't Frodo do anything? Why does Frodo get bolted? Right? Like, did I just play
That
one
makes
mana for
it even
Frodo to eat a
dumber
bolt?
because that gives you the argument for making everything in historic. So let's say Frodo sucks, you just keep buffing Frodo until Frodo does something. in
But
historic.
then Frodo isn't Frodo, right? Frodo is then digital Frodo.
But it's
Uh,
playable. Like what, like what? Do
it
you want
is
unplayable
there is
Frodo or do you want buffed up digital Frodo?
look, I'm all for multiverses. In the year of the multiverse, right? Like I love that. I love that there's a different variant of Frodo, but that's not the Frodo that I opened at my pre-release, right? So I if the like that's why I think Timeless has the opportunity to capitalize on like putting everything that they had with a with like what I was hoping would be historic, right? But now that's like okay, pre-release of Final Fantasy, cool. I opened Sephiroth. I want Sephiroth on Arena, but I want what my Sephiroth does, not an alchemy version,
I
right?
think you explained it and then just convinced me that Timeless is even dumber than I thought. Because it's like you want Final Fantasy, but what you're saying is it has to be playable in vintage for for it to be playable. And you're like, that's gonna be a tough ask without any buffs. Like every time you release a Universes Beyond, it needs to be played alongside Oko and Fetches and Treasure
Well,
Cruise. Like that's a tough ask. You need to buff the heck out of that card.
it's
So
okay. Dark Ritual is not even restricted, so I can Dark Ritual into like I don't know,
It's a Frodo. Yes, that would be great.
into Sephiroth on turn one. That could be a line, right? I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like
I do think you're
hey,
right though. It has to do with Universes Beyond. But
yeah.
I don't understand why it didn't go straight into historic. But like Warhammer 40K, it'd be nice if it was on Arena. But where would you play it?
I
So
mean,
Timeless
like
is where they want it to go, right?
I know this is a licensing thing between like GameWorks because I mean people are like discussing about that. Why isn't Warhammer on Moto right now, right? And I'm gonna have to imagine the same with Square Enix, Marvel, yada yada yada, right? But I do think that like this is Arena's chance to really capitalize on that. Do like Twitch drops to help grow Arena as well. Like Arena, this is year like 52. It's not new. It's not new. I play your game every day. I would love to see you do Twitch drops. It's this new concept. It's
Yeah,
a brand
sure.
new
Play some
concept.
Timeless. You get a Sephiroth sleeve twist drop. Okay, you queue in. Your opponent's like Dark Ritual
Hey,
channel.
hey,
Turn one, slam you. Your hand is full of like 8-drop Sephiroths.
hey,
This
hey,
will
it's not
totally
it's
go
not
seemingly well.
as long as I got my sleeves. Hey, whatever. Okay. So what Sephiroth's
You
getting
can
into an alt
admire your
cosplay?
card back while you're getting destroyed as your opponent eggs you on turn one. Okay, so that's Timeless. That's coming to Arena this week. Same with Cons of Tarkir. Uh,
Yeah.
so we're getting more stuff, and then they also mentioned that Universes Beyond and stuff like that. Timeless is a point for that. Speaking of new sets, we have the early preview of the next set,
Yeah.
Karlov Manor. So
Yeah.
Ravnica,
Talk
Murders
about it.
at Karlov Manor. It's releasing in
Yeah.
February. So it's still quite a while a ways out, but we got some early previews, and then it's also the Clue set is coming with it, the board game Clue Ravnica edition thing.
Can our editor, is it possible? I don't know which episode it is, but I remember you and I specifically were memeing like, oh, well, what's going to happen next? MTG Clue? I just want that audio clip, like just like played 100 times and overblown.
Okay, we got a couple mythics and rares, and we got some key characters coming back. So we're gonna hit up the previews. You can check them out at mtgpreviews.com. Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, 6-drop Rakdos card, 6/6 legendary creature demon, flying trample at the beginning of your end step. Target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards.
Dude, this card is amazing in Commander. I don't think I'd actually play this in Standard, but like, yo, this card is sick. I love this Rakdos. Well, also have we talked about it on the podcast yet about like the special like treatments that are coming?
No, we
Because
haven't talked about the showcase treatment. So there's
they're
several.
case files.
Yeah, there's
They're case
several
files.
different showcase treatments. The case files that Crim is talking about is the dossier treatment. The showcase frames. There's like a city showcase, and then there's a regular showcase. There's also like
Yeah.
the spotlight looking cards.
So so I don't so let me get this straight. Is the spotlight, is that something that is available? Like, is that something that could happen to any version of this, or is that only with the case file? Because
Uh,
that's the one thing I don't know.
those are unrelated. So the case files, the dossier frames, uh,
Yeah.
they kind of look like the test cards, by the way. But those are a showcase treatment.
Dude,
The
that's so
spotlight, I think
cool.
so far we've only seen on story spotlight cards. I think they're reserved for story spotlight, but don't quote me on that. We have a couple of those, but they're all story spotlights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, story spotlights are not like, Lord, I do not want to bring a black light to any LGS because the grossness of it. But like, yeah, like all the Cheeto finger smears across all the cards. Oh God. But yeah, like these case files are so brilliant. I personally love this. Because it's the mystery aspect, like the clue vibes, right? Like they nailed it. It's like one of those old like
Really?
beige folders,
So
portfolios.
Seth
I think
really
this is
likes them
so
too.
cool.
I actually hate them. I look at it and they look like proxies to
Richard,
me. So when you
the typewriter font.
so did you play? So okay, you're too young for this, but like back in the day, like in
Oh
1995,
God, I'm about to get sunned right now.
we made proxies too, right? There were proxy programs, and they would print like this. It would be like a white frame, and then for some reason, it's like this courier typewriter font, and they would kind of look like this. They would have no art. So I don't know. These look kind of like proxy cards, and like the way because it's a case file, the the frame is like offset. It looks like it's crooked, like as if you cut a piece of
It's a bunch
paper
of photos.
and you proxied it together, and it's like off, right? Like it
Oh,
totally looks like
Richard,
proxies to me.
this is your like MTG boomer speaking right now. It's like, oh,
Oh.
back in my day, we didn't listen to your screamy music. Like,
Does this look
like, this
premier
is-
to you? Look, okay, look.
Yeah,
We got to do this for the science. So Crim, I was talking to Crim this weekend. He convinced me to buy One Piece cards. And then
Yeah.
so we got
yeah, you did.
we got
Look at
stuff
that.
like this. Like this is a premium card. This looks like a proxy. By the way, I was showing a One Piece foil on camera if you're listening on Spotify. But I don't know. I think people like it because Seth really liked it, and then you like it. But I think they're kind of cheesy. I would go for the normal.
Whoa,
I would go for the normal printing or the other showcase. The other showcase is like the stylized like art with like the city around it. I really like that.
Nah, that's that. I don't know. Maybe to me that doesn't stand out though, right? Like the border is like cool. It's cute. I like the city, but like this pops, right? It is so jarring. It's so different.
It is jarring.
That I love it, right? Like that's what you want, right?
Dude,
That's how
you
know
would buy a
open
Comic
something special.
Sans showcase, wouldn't you?
Yo, you give me an impact font showcase. like I am, dude. I'm a sucker for the typewriter, and like I do like that they just have like the way the image is off centered, like you had mentioned. I like that, right? It's like you have Detective Richard walking in with the cloak, the top hat, the cigar. Not ever since what happened to Baby Seth. I don't touch that game no more. Like you got your absurdly dark voice. You're constantly monologuing on rainy rooftops, like in black and white. I love this. I love this. I love the way it looks like the art looks like a stack of photos slapped onto the like case file. Like, come on.
You know what I also really hate? The frames have no color. Like everything is white. There's like a touch of like the card's color on the photo, but like
yeah.
the red card looks white, the blue card looks white, the Boros card looks white. So
Oh, come on.
Okay, wait.
I think
What about Rakdos? Rakdos himself.
he's a great
it's a
card.
6 mana, 6/6
Commander.
flying trample, draw 2. It's non-token, non-land. So they gotta sack something useful, right?
Okay, so there's a part of me that wishes it was non-token and that was it, so that they had to sack lands. Because can you imagine how sick that would be? Because this triggers at your end step.
Yeah.
I will say that is pretty sweet. But how many 6 mana things that don't like outside of Atraxa, which draws you like 100 cards, right? And Leyline Binding isn't actually 6 mana. So like I mean a real legitimate 6 mana threat do we see in Standard? I'm talking standard.
Is this
I'm not
strong
talking
enough
old.
so you can't play 6 mana cards in standard like that. So you would either need to ramp into it or you need to
Yeah, but
reanimate it. Is this strong
but
enough
then
to do
there's
such things?
see. So the thing is, you can definitely reanimate this, but this is not on the scale of what I'm like. Oh, pitch this
It doesn't
reanimate
win you the
Titan of
game, right?
Industry.
Yeah, it just
Yeah,
draws you more reanimation spells or something, right?
yeah,
Because the
yeah.
rest of your deck is that, right? Or it draws you more ramp. So it really needs
I
to end the game if you're gonna do a reanimation strategy. So yeah, I think kind of scuffed. It's kind of boring too. Like the
whoa.
let's just draw two
Let's not.
cards. Like the old Rakdos was like flip coins, wrath the board, right? It was like kind of like spectacular. This one's kind of just like okay, I don't know. It's a card advantage engine, I guess.
No. Like, it lives up to the name, Patron of Chaos, right? You had the Showstopper, which made sense why everyone would hold their breaths as you flip the coin. I love this. Also, just real quick before we move on, though, S tier flavor text. I feel like this is how I feel talking about my 30s. And in my quote, and in quotes, an actual signatory of the original Guild Pact, over 10,000 years old, but doesn't look a day over 2,500. Honestly, love that flavor text. Love this card. I think it's going to be sweet in Commander. I'm going to play it in Commander as my Commander, but in Standard, no, I'm probably not playing this.
It actually has different flavor text depending on the printing, which is kind of
Aw.
interesting. So the city showcase that I liked has no flavor text whatsoever. And then the original printing says
Flavorless.
finally a performance worthy of my applause. So he actually says different things depending on.
Oh, yeah, but you see, and then that's even funnier and that's even better because the case file, oh my God, I can hear the typewriters crunching up right now. It's a
Dude,
great detective movie. Come
Zoomers
on.
don't even know what a typewriter is.
Yo, but I've seen one in a museum, so.
All right, next up, another favorite returning character, Aurelia, the law above, 5 mana Boros, flying
Badass name.
vigilance haste 4/4. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia deals 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. Whew. That's not even
Okay.
lightning helix. That's like you hit you hit each of your opponents and then gain 3 life.
What do you think of this? Like, I'm not a okay. I saw like there's a light spoiler. Lightning Helix got spoiled as a thing for this set, so I'm excited for that. So they're like, and I've seen a few of like on the internets. The designers of the set has said that Boros will be cooking this set.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. But as of right now, I don't see many things in Boros that I like. That like, and Mardu Angels might exist or something like that, and you could play this there. But I don't think the abilities like pair up all that well with like Angels. But we're gonna see. Right now, I'm not a huge fan of Aurelia, the Law Above. I do like the name though.
This card is so good. Chris.
You think this card is so good?
So
like standard,
standard,
so good.
It's probably best in standard. I mean, it's probably okay in Commander. But the thing holding it back is like, what Boros cards do we have? And I am pretty sure we have enough white weenie cards to make this work. It's
Okay.
a 5 mana 4/4 flying vigilance haste. If you're attacking with 2 other creatures, you draw a card. Your opponent can't swing back at you. Because if they do, you have a vigilance flying blocker. But if they swing with 3 or more creatures, you also draw a card. And for whatever reason, they swing with 5 or more creatures, they better overkill you by 3 because you lightning helixing on the way back too. So those triggers happen when your opponents attack you. So it's kind of like,
well, it's only if they attack with 5 or more.
Well, I mean the lightning helix one, but the 3 or more, like that's reasonable, right?
Sure.
If they're actually trying to clock you. I think this is like a house in mid-range battles because of this kind of like tax on the attack. And then triggering the card draw is not bad. You just have like two Dirtles with Aurelia and you attack. That's draw a card. And it's also a 4/4 flying vigilance haste. So it's really good, no? And Lightning Helix has to be good, right? Like we know Lightning Helix is in the set. And then we have the white weenie creatures, right? Like I think we got it. I think this is a real deck.
I won't say that this is like garbage or anything, because I don't think it is either. I think that also standard is good when there's a 5-mana 4/4 haste. That's what I've noticed,
Yeah.
right? Usually, like some 5-mana, like hasty threat, aggro threat, whether it's Thunder Cow, Hellkite, or whatever, Stormbreath Dragon, like this is going to kind of fill in that slot if there's a deck that can play that, right? But I don't know if it's a White Weenie because it feels kind of weird that White Weenie would have a 5-drop.
It's the top end of White Weenie to close out the game and to keep drawing weenies in case something bad happened. Do you play in a mid-range deck? Like, what would we do with this in a mid-range deck?
I like it in some way to punish after a sweeper, right? You wait for the sweeper, although, like, you know, then it's like the rest of the abilities are irrelevant.
Yeah,
You're just paying for a
abilities
5-mana
are
haster,
irrelevant, right?
But like I'm definitely like, let me tell you something right now. As long as Sunfall is in the format and things like that, you gonna commit more to the board to the Sunfall,
You
or
just gotta commit 3. Like 3, right? And then also
that's
if
3 plus Aurelia, that's 4.
No, 2 plus Aurelia. So 2
or 2 plus
Aurelia
yeah,
counts
yeah.
itself, but also 4 plus Aurelia plus the Lightning Helix might be enough to close the game as well, right? So if you
That's fair.
going all in as well, right? So I actually think it's pretty decent.
I
I'm
don't
sad
think
at
the card
Sarah
is
Angel,
bad.
though.
Oh, Sarah Angel.
Look at the power creep on Sarah Angel on this thing, right? It's ridiculous.
This is probably what Sarah Angel needs to be, like, to look playable in the current year. But I think this is close. It depends on what else comes in the Boros shell. I think this is okay right now, just like in the dark without seeing everything else in the set. It's just like to okay. But
The biggest
we're gonna
problem is
see
it's
what
legendary
happens.
because you can't stack them up.
Yeah.
Like, but this like
That's the main
think
thing.
of all the 4 and 5 mana hasty dragons that I've seen play in standard over the years. Like this has to be with them. No, this is like pretty decent.
Is it too much to ask for like first strike?
Why do you first strike? you get
I don't know.
Pro color would help. So like Storm Breath Dragon would like tap all the lingering souls and be pro white or whatever to Thundermaw tapped lingering souls. Storm Breath was like immune to white removal.
To pro white, which was good. Pro white would be good here because it can't get ley line.
Yeah. But that'd be way too strong.
But, I mean, but like if is the worst thing happening to standard a 5-mana Boros mid-range threat?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So, but yeah, the card could see play. We'll see. But like between this and Rakdos, yeah, I think this is leagues better than Rakdos.
Yeah. We got another mythic, Elquist, Proft, Master Sleuth, 3 mana Azorius, 3/3.
Call him what it is.
Vigilance. 1 ETB's Investigate. X white blue tap. Sack a clue. You draw X cards and gain X life.
Richard, I want you to look at the case file.
Why are we looking at case files? We've got Sphinx's Rev on a stick, Crim. Let me look at the case files.
First off, 2 things. Look at that, because if you haven't seen it yourself, and for everyone watching, you can see it. We'll bring it up here, but the art looks like Markiplier. He straight up looks like Markiplier. Second off, if you're listening, that's another YouTuber. Don't worry about it. Point is, I think the humorous thing is he cracks a clue and then gets a revelation. Dude, that's so murder mystery. Like, come on, dude. The flavor is there. How cool is that? I think this card is like kind of unplayable.
Wait, what?
Like,
this is
actually,
unplayable?
no, actually, hold on. Not unplayable. Not unplayable. I just realized he has an ETB that investigates, and he's a 3-mana vigilant.
He's a 3-mana 3/3 vigilance. So a blocker. He investigates to make you a clue, so you can spend additional 2 mana to draw a card, and then you can Sphinx's Rev sacking a clue, and you can chain them together. Do you remember what was gross about Ravnica Standard? It's not the first Sphinx's Rev. It's when you start chaining them together. And this is a reusable Sphinx's Rev as long as you make another clue somewhere. Like, isn't this disgusting?
That's the thing here. Do you hear that asterisk that you just said? As long as you make another clue, as long as you have this guy, right?
Okay, but let's say you don't make another clue. Just one Sphinx's Rev attached with a 3/3 blocker and the option to draw a card early. Like, isn't that still really good?
Look, I love Markiplier as much as the next person, but like, I I don't even think Sphinx's rev is good in the current year.
What? What?
Dude,
No.
I
Is that where
will
we're at?
say, okay, what shell are you playing this in? Blue white doesn't, like the blue white flash deck. Notice how that says flash. This doesn't have that. So Aaron and Giada kind of takes that spot, right?
It's a new deck
Uh,
called Control Crim, where you just load up with removal and
oh,
counter spells, and then you Sphinx's Rev to stabilize. The only bad thing is Shouldred makes you very sad if you don't have the answer and you can't snap off that Rev. But you only
I
lose
mean,
half the life if you somehow survive the Rev with Shouldred, right? Because you gain a
that's
life,
true.
and then
That's
Shouldred
true,
takes
though.
2 from you.
That's true, though. You got a point. Also, Sheoldred's not that big a deal. It's fine. The main thing is just regardless of Sheoldred existing, I think this card is just in a weird spot on the curve. Like, you have Wedding Announcement, you have Rafine, you have all these things that are so good at 3, and, like, they have, like, Rafine has Ward. Rafine requires 0 mana to sink into to draw cards, right? Like, you just draw the cards. Now, Seth, Seth's not here. I'll do it for him. This is the angry man old man yelling at the clouds. This is why rotation should have happened. But like, regardless of rotation happening or not, I will say that, yeah, Rafine existing means that this card is a little bit less appealing. Rafine has Ward. This doesn't. It fits in on the 3 slot. This isn't played in blue-white flash because why would I want this, right? It's.
I can't believe
we'll see if there's
you gotta hand in your Control Mage membership, Crim.
Dude, like
Rafine is like an aggro deck. You need other creatures, right? Like you obviously this doesn't help you in the same way. If you're playing like draw go control, why are you tapping out? I get that. What if you play tap out control, Crim? What if you just play
tap out blue white?
Alquist into Wandering Emperor into Sphinx's Rev? Like, there you go. That's all you need. That's all you need. You know what? Ambitious farmhand into Alquist into
That's like an awful curve, dude. That sounds like you've lost the game. I've just chosen to.
This card makes me want to play Standard, Crim. Like, of all the cards I've seen.
Okay, hey. You do you. Different strokes for different folks.
Is Sphinx's Rev really bad in 2023? No way. Am I that
I don't
boomer?
think Sphinx's Rev is good, dude. I love Sphinx's Rev. All right. I shed a tear every time I cast that spell because I know I'm lying to myself. Whatever I'm about to think, I'm lying to myself.
I can't. All we need is a Think Twice. Just give me a Think Twice in this format.
They have one.
And we cook.
There is one.
Wait, is there?
They made a new Think Twice that's even better. It's
how can you get better?
It's called Deduce.
It's greatest card of all time. Okay, Deduce. It actually is, Chris. Deduce is a 2-mana instant. Draw a card, and then you investigate. So Think Twice was 2 mana, draw a card, flashback for 3. This is the flashback is investigate for 2. So it actually is just straight up better. We're playing blue white control, Crim. What more can we say?
Think Twice is back.
Think Twice is back.
We're playing Sphinx's Rev. Yo, this deck sounds terrible.
All we need is the Thalia Drown Yard, and then we can play Esper, and then we'll call it a day.
Hey, look, I will say yes to that, but dude. Hey, man, you play what you want, but I'm going to say Think Twice is back in the format.
Think Twice probably too bad for 2023, but I don't know. Actually, maybe not be actually that bad, but there's no way Sphinx's Rev. Sphinx's Rev still refills your hand if your opponent doesn't kill you first.
You're talking about back in the era when people conceded to card advantage. Right? The same era where if I rev for 7 and it was all like poop, but people still conceded. Like this too. Back then when you would rev, it'd be like 4 lands and like another rev and like probably, I don't know, 2 irrelevant cards, and people conceded. And I'm like, oh, thank God, because if you made me play this out, I would have lost.
I have Disciple of Bolus for 6 and then drew 6 straight lands and my opponent proceeded to kill me. And I was like, whoa, you're supposed to concede here, buddy. You didn't know this happened.
Yeah, you're supposed to concede to card advantage. But no, like that, and this is more steps. I don't even get the rev right away. The one thing I will say
it's a blocker.
Is that
the problem with rev is you die before you rev, but here you can chuck it down as a 3/3 vigilant blocker, and you can draw off the investigate too if you want.
I like that there's an ETB, so he kind of leaves behind this token and draw card. He's a 3/3 vigilant body, which is nice, but it's like this again, it has to be a new archetype because it's in a weird spot on the curve where I don't know if I'm tapping out to play this. It's not a bad card per se.
I don't believe
It's just like
I'm gonna check back.
No
Crim's gonna be snapping off Sphinx's Rev, having the time of his life.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong if you're telling me that Sphinx's Rev is good in standard.
Like, here's the
right?
deck:
Like,
Alquist, Deduce, Wandering Emperor, Sphinx's Rev. That's all. That's the whole deck. That's the deck. Sunfall, just throwing some Sunfalls for fun. Like, that's the deck.
so what did I draw more of? Deduces?
The Deduces get you to the Alquist.
Dude, the Deduce is like dropping a hot deuce on my like
And you
gameplay right now.
The Deduce is actually so, because it keeps the clue around for you to snap off the second Sphinx's Rev from Alquist. It's so good.
Okay. If there is a clue engine and that deck is not fringe playable, like, you know, something I'd meme and make a deck out of. I mean, like, actually a deck, this card goes in there because that's a new archetype. But as of right now, the existing archetypes in standard, he has no place.
It's okay, because Murders is bringing new archetypes. We talked about Lightning Helix, Crim.
Okay. Yeah.
How good is Lightning Helix in standard?
That card's still good. That I'm sorry, like Lightning Helix, that's still good. Now, is Boros cooking in standard? I see Lightning Helix, and I at least think about splashing Boros, no matter what. And maybe this is my inner boomer appealing to this, because maybe this card isn't good anymore, but Helix is still good, right? Like 3 damage to anything, to the face, gain 3. That's still good. The question is, what shell comes around Boros?
So 3 mana kills pretty much all of the small stuff, like all the 3 drops. Rafine is a 1/4, I guess, with Ward.
With Ward.
Shoulder Hit is a 4/5, but outside of those, like, everything in Soldiers dies.
Except Adeline.
Except Adeline. Mono red, everything pretty much dies.
I mean,
so yeah,
you
think
counter this is like a counter spell to mono red. You not only have you've cryptic commanded them, you've countered them, you've countered a burn spell, and you've removed a creature.
It's got, like, there are some creatures at 3 mana with 4 toughness, right? So like Adeline, Rafine, stuff like that. But the majority of stuff still dies, and you get the 3 life, which, like Crim said, is basically a time walk or a counter spell versus like aggressive decks or even mid-range decks, right? That's another 1.5 cards you can draw with the children on the battlefield when you gain that life, right? So it's got to be good. It's got to be so good that we play Aurelia with it. It's got to be one of the best removal spells, no?
I have to imagine it's at least a premier spell. But again, that's because we both played in boomer eras. We saw this played in modern. I mean, if you showed me Electrolyze in current day, I'd probably lie to you and still think it's good, right? Because I love that card too much. Look, I love Electrolyze. I love Lightning Helix. God, give me good old Jeskai control in modern.
Look, turn 1, pass. Turn 2, Helix. Turn 3, Alquist. Turn 4, Wandering Emperor. Turn 5, you already won the game. You can Sunfall if somehow something stuck there. You just untap and you sit there. You can deduce. You start snapping off revs. Unbeatable, Crim. Unbeatable.
Is that our late game? I have to imagine that'll be fun. It'll be fun. It comes back to what the shell is for Boros. I really can't wait, because then maybe I will go. I see y'all in the comments. Richard and Crim don't know how to evaluate Quintorius or whatever. It's like, yo, it's not played in standard. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, it might be broken in older formats, but maybe this is that shell. Maybe this Boros shell means Quintorius. Everyone gets their favorite elephant in standard, and it's actually playable. So Boros is shaping up to have a few playmakers.
All right. So the clue set is coming with this too. And Crim, do you know how this actually works? What is the clue set that's coming alongside Ravnica? murders.
Okay. I might be off base. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like the clue set here is just everything that we know about Clue turned into magic, a magic little mini game, right? So, like lead pipe is a card. Like if you remember, if you've played the Clue board game, lead pipe is a card. God, it's still so funny. I just hear it in our heads. My like in my head, our voice is laughing, going, haha, MTG Clue 2 years ago or something, and now it's here. So lead pipe is equipped creature gets +2/+0 when equipped creature dies. Each opponent loses 1. Pay 2, sack it, draw a card. Pay 2 to equip it. So the items, from what we know, right? You have the items. You have some of the characters like Senator Peacock. So now if you remember, like, General Mustard, all that stuff from the Clue board game, they've now been MTG-ified. Is that what do we call that? Universes within? When we take other stuff and bring it to our world?
Okay, actually, this is Universes Beyond. And we know
Okay.
because they're the outside characters, but if you look at the rarity symbol, it's the triangle. It's the same one we use for
Right.
Warhammer. It's the same one we use for Lord of the Rings. So this is official
Okay.
Clue IP. So if you're a Universes Beyond hater, you got to start hating this, even if you're a Clue fan. But this is technically Universes Beyond. It's bringing
Okay.
Clues to the next level. I know Phil is super hyped about the set. Like, lead pipe is an equipment that's also a clue because you can just sack it. The type is actually artifact clue equipment. Senator Peacock turns all of your clues, or sorry, all of your artifacts into clues. And then the land cycle is interesting. So dining room is an ETB tapped land. It's green. It taps for red or green, so it's a dual land. You can pay 4 mana, tap it to investigate.
Yeah.
This is set levels of mana. So remember, this is 5 mana to make a clue because you got to use the land itself, and then 2 mana to crack. So that's 7 mana to draw a single card off your mana base. But that's pretty interesting. And then the art is also the clue room, which is kind of cool, right? It's the dining room itself.
Right. So you can play what is essentially a game. It's a multiplayer game, and you're gonna like every character from the world of Clue has been reimagined into a certain guild, right? If you look at the way they're designed, like this person, Senator Peacock, looks like they're in Azorius. General Mustard looks like he's in Boros. So I think this is pretty nifty. I think there's also supposedly another set of rules, a new way to play the game as well. Like, have they fully explained that? Is like, I'm not sure. Like, do we know like about the alternate set of rules? Like, you could still play the normal game as you would expect of hitting each other, yada yada yada, but there's like an element of Clue gameplay added to it, right?
No idea. No idea. It sounds like it. But there's also something important here. Steam Vents is in the clue set. It's coming as a box topper.
Oh, and Shocklands. Here you go.
So
Shocklands.
that leads me to believe this is some kind of alternate game mode or something where they felt they needed to add Shocklands to sell it. Like they typically do this with like Unhinged, like the unsets and things like that. So I'm assuming there's some wackiness going on, and they're gonna rope in 60 card format players by giving them the Shocklands. So yeah.
Okay. Do we like? I don't know how much this costs, but if it comes with one of each Shockland, that's pretty good, right?
No. Those are box toppers, Crim. You gotta have to gacha loot box your way into this.
Oh,
I don't think
man.
it comes with a full set of Shocklands.
Oh man. Okay, well then never mind. They should just put battle bond lands into all of these, by the way, as well.
Yeah. I mean, they should just give away lands for free, but that's
That's
we
true.
talked about this
That's
for
true.
a while. One last topic we wanted to hit up. So we had the modern bannings, right? So Rakdos Scam
Oh
got hit with the Fury, right? So it turns out
yeah.
at the Grand Open qualifier in Barcelona this week, Scam is well and alive. We call it Rakdos Midrange, and we beat out Living End and took down the whole tournament. No Furies required. No Furies required.
I mean, first off, congrats though to the winner, because I like that. I like that. Just because the deck took a huge ban, and still, like, the pilot was still able to outplay and outmaneuver the entire field, who got cold feet and dropped off the deck, but they got rewarded for being a true believer, and I respect the hell out of that. So that's pretty funny. So let's take a look at the deck list, right? It, for the most part,
It's not
it's
scam.
what scam was. It is.
So,
It's still scam,
let me,
dude.
so,
You
I,
still
so
got
I've been
not dead
following
after all.
the modern subreddit after all of this Rakdos drama, and people are like, guys, I figured it out. You just cut the reanimation spells and play like more fables, and then you have this deck and it's pretty good. And then I'm like, look at all of these Zoomers rediscovering Jund midrange, except they've decided to cut the green. So the deck that won is a mid-range deck. It's running 4 not dead after alls. So that's one of the reanimation spells. And then Malakir Rebirth. So 5 reanimation spells. The rest is just Rakdos mid-range good stuff, right? It's like Voidwalker, Grief, Bowmasters, Monkey, Pyro, Sheoldred, Fable, Thoughtseize, Molten Collapse.
Let's rewind it. Did you say Grief?
Yeah, Grief is there, but you can play Grief in Jund. That's like a solid card.
No, dude. Like,
okay, if you're playing the fairway, that's fine, right? If you're trying to reanimate Grief, we call that a scam. It's more mid range.
So what are they doing? What are they doing with Not Dead After All? What do you think they're doing?
they're reanimating Doughty Voidwalker, Crim.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, let's be honest here. Let's call it what it is. Boom. What did we say? Grief should have gone to with Fury.
Yep. I mean, I totally agree with you.
Right? Like, look, it's still there. It turns out if you double Thoughtseize on turn 1, you still wreck a lot of the meta.
I mean, if you take Jund midrange, cut 4 Tarmogoyfs and put 4 not dead after alls, throw in 4 Griefs, like here's where you're at, right? Like it's the pile of good Rakdos cards we've seen across basically all formats, like from standard all the way to legacy. It's the same Rakdos. Turns out Fable is still really good. Turns out Sheoldred is good. Turns out Orcish Bowmasters is really good. Monkey is here still. And then the scam back package got smaller. It's still here. And I just want to know in the finals how many turn 1 Griefs were cast. Like maybe no turn 1 Griefs were cast at all, or maybe every game they got the turn 1 Grief off and their opponent's like, come on. But yeah. I mean, it's living end, like, right? You're probably cutting the Griefs, right? Like that's the actual surprising part. That in the finals they beat living
unless
end.
You discard turn 1, they're on the draw, and you discard their living ends.
Yeah.
Or all their cascade enablers.
Yeah, but yeah, modern is still shaking out, but people are still making the Rakdos work. So maybe this is what Wizards wanted, right? Because the deck got knocked down a peg, but still viable. But I mean, I would argue you still don't want to get griefed on turn 1, and you didn't fix anything, but
huh? Yeah, weird. It's like that card is still good. The card's still good, huh?
All right. So that brings us to Fishmail. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail. We'll get to your questions on air. G Sansigolo. Last week, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. How come Wizards, owner of D&D and Magic, doesn't do anything related to it? It's Game of the Year, not even a secret lair.
You know, that is one of the big questions, right? Like, you had a set for it, to celebrate game. They did tweet something out, right? They tweeted something out like congratulations, which is at least an acknowledgement. But I think they should just like re-release the set for a limited run or something like that, right? Like, as in like do another run of it, because is that still in circulation? I don't think Baldur's Gate set, like Commander Legends or whatever, is still in circulation, right? Because
no, I was just at Walmart trying to see if I know there was no Baldur's Gate on the shelves.
I don't I don't see that stuff anywhere on the shelves at major retailers. So they should do another print run of that. And I'm not saying that because there's a ton of cards in there that need to be reprinted at the price that it's at now. But yeah, like I'm so shocked that they aren't gonna do something else, or maybe they will. It's just down the line, right? Because I don't imagine that. Like I think there was always a plan to return to a Forgotten Realm or whatever. I think there's definitely a reason to come back, right? Because I'm not a D&D guy, but tons of people have said there's still a lot left on the table. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get the Game of the Year edition Secret Lair next year because everything works like a year and a half.
So I get Secret Lair being hard to make and like they gotta actually make it, but like why didn't they just drop free Baldur's Gate cards on Arena for people? Be like, here's a Shadowheart, and here's a Lizelle, and here's a Will or whatever. Have fun. Thanks for supporting Baldur's Gate 3, guys. Right? Like they could have done something like super simple like that, but like I don't know why they did it. I haven't actually opened Baldur's Gate. Did I get any drops? I'm gonna imagine no, but that's more on Larian games, right? But Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering, we should at least maybe even a Baldur's Gate event on Arena. I don't know what it'd be, but one of their special formats. But at least they could have just dropped us some free cards and made people play
something
Baldur's
should
Gate.
happen.
Right? You're like, hey, we won Game of the Year. Go buy our $60 game. Thank you. Right? Like, I don't know. Wizards always drops the ball on kind of these like promotional crossovers. I know for Honkai Star Rail, they also won Mobile Game of the Year. I got a free 10-pull Crim. I got some good stuff.
Oh yeah.
They actually give out celebrations and rewards.
God, you're such a weeb.
I got my 10-pull.
On top of that,
I got my 10-pull.
Did you go to? Is there a boba spot near you? I think there is, but like throughout California, there's a chain of boba spots called Sunright.
Oh yeah, I got it.
And yeah,
oh yeah,
I love that. Richard's like,
it was disgusting. By the way, in case you're wondering, like Sunright is okay, but they have like the special drinks for Kafka and Blade.
Yeah.
I got the Blade drink and it was like horrendous. I was like, I couldn't even finish it. I didn't want to come back for the Kafka drink. You spend like $7 for the boba, you get like 10 cents of in-game currency. But I was like, don't worry, I saw the pop-up sign. I was there. I supported my game. But yeah,
the ROI on that sounds insane. 10 cents worth of in-game credit and like 4 hours in the bathroom because you drank this like purple, black,
if they just
white
gave
drink.
me the normal boba, it'd be great. Like if I would get boba from Sunright, but the special drink was just like too much. It was kind of gross.
It was like a block of sugar, right? Like it was just like a clump. I know that boba is like viewed as a sweet drink, which is fine. So just remember, this is like that, but amplified. Yeah. And but like that. That's I'm glad you went.
But I got my Kafka coaster and cup holder thing. So yeah, it was worth. So yeah, I'm glad. So for the record, if they had a Baldur's Gate 3 pop up at Sunright, I'd be getting some gross boba there too. Like if I could get a Shadowheart coaster, I would do it. So
the Asterion or the Karlak Crunch.
Oh yeah. So Wizards of the Coast, I will buy a J smoothie if you want to celebrate. I guess 30th anniversary would have been it, right? They didn't collaborate with KFC. I know KFC's big for collabs. They always collab with everything in China. But like, if you just McDonald's had the McDonald's 100th anniversary
Pokemon
toys. They have Crash Bandicoot right now, apparently. I didn't know that was still around.
Yo, I could tell your dad because you know exactly what toys are at McDonald's.
Yo, I get a coffee from McDonald's in the morning and I check out the Happy Meals.
Don't lie to me, Richard. You get a coffee. You check the kid. That is the perk though of having kids. It's like you don't feel weird if you go up and like, hey, let me get 30 of these McDonald's kits with every Pokemon card in them, please. But like, the Pokemon cards are for only you.
That's how it works, Crim. That's the privilege.
Dude, that's the dad perk.
Dude, I wish we could get Magic the Gathering at McDonald's. Like seeing everyone go crazy, and they have to put up the signs like we don't sell the Pokemon cards. You got to buy the Happy Meal, and we're out. But if that was just like a pack of Magic cards, oh, that'd be so good.
Do you think like if McDonald's showed up with like Magic cards, do you think it would actually draw?
No.
like
That's why they don't do
flocks
it.
of people.
We don't have any IP. It doesn't matter that the Pokemon cards suck, right? It matters that there's a picture of the Pokemon there. So when Jace becomes a household brand, it doesn't matter that his card sucks. It's just a special Jace that I can buy at McDonald's.
Yo, you just, it's simple. You oath breakify, or oath, what is it? Oath gate watchify Ronald McDonald and friends. Like, can you imagine Grimace in like a Jace cloak? That's funny as hell. Why not? And then you make a McDonald's secret lair, UB, that is not really a full set. You go to McDonald's, you get a random, like, oh, it's Grimace's Jace, or like the card can suck, but it's funny, right? Like I would, dude, or maybe it's just me and like 40 other sweaty nerds will just be there in line trying to get Grimace Jace. But like, dude, I would go.
Yeah, I
would totally go.
Can you imagine the golden arches of Araska? Like, oh,
Yeah. I get that right now, right? So yeah,
yeah, dude.
I am pretty sure Wizards would love to do it, but McDonald's was like, nah, we need stuff that actually attracts people. Crash Bandicoot it is.
Well, we'll see about that when we get Marvel and we've got Fortnite and all that other stuff.
Yeah, once we get Marvel, we can sneak in by giving people like Marvel Magic cards and Happy Meals. Then they'll go for it. But I don't know. Marvel's on the downswing, so I don't know. We gotta latch onto the next wave, Crim. We gotta get the next cool things for the Zoomers. Okay, so without Seth here, we rambled on far too long about random stuff. So thank you everyone for listening. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all back here next week.